Alright, time to check if this is in fact working. Notification squad. Yeah. YouTube, hello. Yeah, okay, YouTube is working good. And so is Twitch. So I guess, oh yeah, I need to test this chats. Yeah, there you go, it's working. AMA is Ask Me Anything. What's up, Matt Harry? Okay, I can close this. And this. Yeah. Okay. And now I just chill for a bit. I don't know if I'm gonna play today or not. So, but I wanted to stream, so I was like, you know, let's do something different. Yeah, there we go. Custom game, create. Oops. Where's King's Row? None. What up, Mystic Banana? There's a diamond race. Congrats. Rank doesn't matter. Although I will say good job on your climbing, Marin. How can I take third point in King's Row as Genji? This is unrelated to rank. This advice will apply to every rank. Okay. So, what are the issues? I try to first think about what the issues are with King's Row third points. First, let's kind of divide this into two parts. Do you have an issue with the first half of third points? Or do you have an issue with the second half of third points? Because I have a suspicion. And this doesn't apply just to the person that asked the question, by the way. Everyone that is watching, feel free to participate, etc. Second half, yes. What's the difference? What makes second part of this point on King's Row different than this part? Gonna wait a little bit, see if anyone gets it. No one gets it, I'm gonna give a hint. Sidelines? What about the sidelines? Sidelines on their own don't actually say pretty much anything. Especially because we're drawing comparisons, right? So we need to talk about what are the differences in the sidelines. What sidelines does Genji want? What sideline does Genji not like? Long sidelines. The rotation, they're going to poke you out. There we go. Winston? Are you referring to this point or do you just want advice about Winston? If you're talking about the current question, I don't see how that applies. But if you're asking about a different question, we'll get to it after this one. Close range areas to fight in. Yep, pretty much it. it's much easier for you to close the gap, use good cover, right, to avoid the long range sightlines, right? The hit scan on the high ground, the hit scan playing around on the mega, right? The hit scan playing here or whatever, right? Just using hit scan as a term for long range pressure, essentially. Yes, Twinton? And you have a lot of ways of closing the gap. And by the way, you might have seen the path that I took. This is mostly the kind of path that you want to be taking, because this decreases the amount of time that you are within dangerous LOS. So either you can deflect, or because the rotation are so short, just wait for a moment they aren't looking, they're distracted shooting your team, you cross, you save your cooldown, right? Then you keep closing the gap, and now you can test the high grounds, right? You can test the high ground. You can do something similar by maybe going from here, right? But here you do need a dash, whereas on this path you probably don't need a dash, right? So that could come up in certain situations. Now, how do I close the gap on people here? If I close the gap on them, first of all, am I gonna be safe doing this? Probably not, right? I'm probably gonna have to use a cooldown in. Very awkward for me to do anything. I'm gonna be blocked from walking forward because of the spawn doors and everything. So it's really awkward for me to actually do anything about this. And it's not really safe either. And it's not even like this is a good sightline or a good flank for me, because the range is awkward. So I'm unlikely to really be able to confirm a kill. And also, because this is such a long flank and in such an awkward range, it's very easy for them to see it coming. So it's very hard for you to manage to get a good enough flank going from here to actually be able to commit for a kill. So this is awkward. So what about the other side? Well, we can think about maybe going this way, right? So maybe you're gonna need deflect to cross this way once you peek main, or maybe just use the dash to cross. And you can work your way here, right? You can play from inside, more so in the corner here, right? And you can get the payload decently far, but the problem is getting it to the very end, right? You can kind of think it as the payload being anywhere in the second half of third point, as being in one fight territory. It doesn't really matter how much card progress they give you. Really, if anything, the defenders should give you more point progress to hold better positions that are much safer, right? They're basically impossible for the attackers to deal with without ultimates, right? So you can try taking some space away from the enemy team slowly but surely. You can test the high ground, either do this type of walk line play, or you can test from the high ground, right, etc. You're not really looking for kills here, you're looking for space most likely to start. You can do a little bit of spam, you can climb this other way, etc. But, with all that being said, again, how do you actually get something going? How do you actually threaten a kill here? This is too long, too awkward, right? Because the range isn't good, and it's not sneaky enough. It's too easy for them to disengage from your dive, and then you're stranded and you die. So it's the same issue as on the right side. So there really isn't a very good solution in terms of just like getting good engagements off on backline, right? So you're either gonna need to wait, right? You're gonna try again, right? Poke, see if there's an opportunity here, poke, see if there's an opportunity here, right? See if the enemy team, see if your team lands good damage, right? Your N lands a big Bionade, right? Your Hanzo hits a very good shot, gets someone low, right? Then you can follow up and get a kill. But on your own, the best thing that you are realistically gonna be able to do is earn your team this space, right? Because you're gonna be able to clear this high ground, you're gonna be able to clear this bottom area, you're gonna be able to contest this high ground, you're gonna be able to clear this inside area, right? You're gonna be able to annoy the enemy team from the sides. But you're gonna need something else to be able to finish the job, right? Because you're not really gonna be able to do too much on your own unless you have some sort of enable, like a Zarya bubble or something like that, or your team is communicating and is all turbo diving that, right, as a whole. So it's just gonna be a kind of an awkward point for you to play. Sometimes you're just gonna have to wait for an ult and then do something like this, and now you can go here because your kill threat is increased, your range is increased because you have 2 dashes, right, etc. Maybe over there same approach, but really you're just gonna have to play a patient game, try to poke as best as you can while avoiding taking too much yourself, and just wait for opportunities. Yeah. That's really most of what you can do. There are maps where you can very much just like look for opportunities all the time because they just offer you the options, but the map design here doesn't really offer you the options. Best thing you could maybe do is go here if the enemy team cannot contest you, and now you have an angle on whoever comes point, right? Let's say that your team is spamming from the corner on the tank. The tank is someone like a ram standing here in the corner, just perma-contesting point of like 3000 effective HP because of the block, plus the support pocket. He's never gonna die. But if you are here shooting him from behind, maybe he will fall. Right? So there are options for you to explore, but I think that one of the biggest lessons in this situation here is to not force too much. Recognize when it's your time to make a play and when it's not likely that you can make a play, right? On the first half of second or of third point, you can make a lot of plays because you are allowed to get close enough to make plays. You have a good enough setup for the play, right? So you can earn a play. On the second half of third point, very unlikely you can earn a play. So instead of forcing a play because you feel anxious, you feel like you need to do something, you chill. Because the biggest thing there is that rather than playing to win, you're playing to not lose, right? If you go here anxious that you're not doing anything and you dive the backline and you die, well, guess what? Now your team just pretty much lost the fight, right? Anyone has any questions? Is this a good enough explanation? I think that especially this takeaway towards the end is very important. Doesn't just apply to this point, it just applies generally. Like knowing when you have to do stuff and when you don't is very, very important, because people tend to fixate on the character's identity or especially the hero fantasy of like the stealth assassin, right? The burst assassin, and then sometimes they can pull it off, but sometimes the enemy team either is just playing in a way that prevents you from doing so, and in turn gives you value just by existing, or you just really can't because of map or some other circumstance like that, right? So being able to recognize those things is very important. Okay, I don't believe anyone else asked any questions, so I don't think I have anything in the queue. So if anyone has anything else, feel free to ask, and I can get to that right away. That is the point of this stream. Actually, let me check something. Chill pill. No, it's not banned. Yeah, no. Probably from another patch. Enemy team is really grouped up or has a really a comp that is really hard to attack from off angles and stuff. Here's the thing. If the enemy team is very grouped up, usually they're not off angles are gonna be good against them, right? I don't really think that your question makes the most sense right now, because a comp that is grouped up is by nature giving up space control, right? You can reply, yeah. This is not just a viewer to streamer stream. Everyone in chat is free to participate. I even welcome them to. But a comp that is grouped up is giving up space control because they're not occupying many places in the map at once. They're not controlling as many sightlines at once, which is why the more that you spread out, the more space that you control. Maybe individuals become less safe in a way because they're more isolated, but because of all the sightline they control, all the different angles that they can apply pressure from, the trade-off of like safety actually ends up not being as much of a trade-off because it's really hard for the opponents to even walk anywhere to do something about the isolation, right? Similarly, if you or sorry, let me get back to where I was going. Or yeah, I was trying to draw a comparison, right? So if you spread out, you control lots of space, so there are a lot of sightlines that are gonna be dangerous for the enemy team to cross. If you're grouped up, you are quote-unquote safer because your team is there ready to protect you, or either directly or indirectly, right? Either by hitting the opponent or by healing and shielding and whatever, right? But but the trade-off is that they don't control as much space, they don't control as many sightlines, right? I think that a really good analogy for you to think about this idea of like space control and like the danger sightlines, right, is thinking about lights. Think about how much light and how much shadow exists in a room. Oh, thanks for the gifted, by the way. Thank you very much for that. I think you're actually the first gift sub I've received on YouTube. From what I remember, YouTube doesn't have as much of a gift culture or subbing culture in general, but here we have it. The first, I got not too long ago the first YouTube subscription, and then now the first YouTube sub. So that's cool. Yeah. Anyways, where I was going. So you think about a room, right? Think about a room, or in this case, heck, we even have some light, right? Think about what areas of the room are gonna be in light and which areas of the room are gonna be in shadow, right? Now, if you were to add a light from a different source, right, a different place, how much extra room would be lighted up, right? How much shadow would be removed? That's pretty much what taking angles does, right? It reduces the amount of safe areas that your opponent can walk in, right? So even though people are isolating to control more space, they're protecting each other more effectively because the enemy team has less shadows they can walk under to avoid, right, any pressure and get to the positions that they need to be able to do something, right? I'm on fire. So this is why the whole premise of the question initially, right, about like a comp that is grouped up but you also can't really off angle into doesn't really make too much sense, because that comp that is grouped up naturally has more blind spots and naturally can't respond as well to the blind spots. So the off angles are inherently gonna be good into that kind of comp.
My aim is true.
Something about rotations that is very relevant to talk about here is the idea of like when to group up versus when to split. One of the ways that you can break an annoying hold from a composition that is taking a bunch of angles around your team, right? So think about, for example, this sniper bot that's controlling this long sideline, right? But then let's say that the enemy team is trying to use this room to close the gap. Avoid the sniper sideline, right? But guess what? If I'm here, now this shadow is not a shadow anymore, right? It's completely lighted up. Because I'm providing light here, right? So the way that a team will be able to stay safe and make those rotations usually is going to be through grouping up. because grouping up is going to allow you to make better use of the shield or whatever sort of mitigation that your tank has. Gonna make it easier for people to not get isolated and focus down, right? Because all of the resources are easily or are readily available for anyone of the team because everyone is grouped together. So that's why initially in rotations people usually group up, because it's safer to do so. It's easier to do so, right? Rotating through safe areas to set up a play, like set up a dive, right? Your Genji flanks, your Tracer flanks, your Winston flanks, whatever, right? All at the same time through different angles. That's gonna be sometimes done, yes, but it's oftentimes much easier to coordinate and have everyone be safe and get to their destinations if they just group up initially and then they split afterwards, after they made the most difficult parts of their rotation, right? So then, for example, they group up, they go here, they force me out. From here, once I'm forced out, maybe they can start splitting up to take angles on the sniper or whatever, right? So that's usually a way that you can think about rotations, right? Usually, towards the start of the fight, you hang with the team, and then as the fight progresses, you're more and more free to just move around the map. Not just because you safely made the first step, but also because attention is gonna start getting split everywhere, so flanks and everything are gonna be more likely to go unnoticed. And then the angles are gonna, again, use the whole shadow concept, right? Light and shadow concept. You're gonna be able to compromise positions that the enemy team thinks are safe, right? The shadows that your team is not currently able to put light on. And now suddenly you're there, right? And they don't expect. They think it's a shadow, but it's not. So now you're hitting them from a blind spot and they're getting through. Right. There are a bunch of good examples for this in my video on attention. The one on... what was the name? Why your dives get countered? That video is a banger. I think it's around over 20,000 views right now. Put a lot of work into it and seems like it has really paid off. Just sorry I haven't been talking too much of chat. Hello to everyone. Private coaching is what? Okay. Don't trip behind something. I guess it's not necessarily private coaching anymore. It can be private coaching for a little bit extra. So I've been doing $25 for an hour for a public session. The ones posted on my coaching channel, about coaching. And then 30 if you want to do it privately. But I will be doing some changes. So I'm gonna make a video on this. But I've been dissatisfied with my workshop system because putting it behind the paywall not only makes it not only does it lock some potential education away from people, which I never like. I would do just like one-on-one coaching for free if I could trust that everyone would be committed, right? I kind of have to put it behind the paywall. Not just because I have to make a living, but also because if you just do like one-on-one coaching for free, you are very likely to get a bunch of people just spamming you that are not very committed to the game, that just play the game every once in a while, right? Whereas people that pay for the coaching are much more likely to actually be able to use the advice that you give, because they're naturally going to be more committed to the game if they are willing to spend money on getting better at the game, right? But I will do some form of free coaching through free workshops. So the free workshops that I was doing every month are now gonna be done weekly instead. Gonna make every single workshop that I host for free. They're more informal, they're more casual. They are a good format to allow a lot of people to join in and get a little bit of feedback and give value to the community, especially those that can't pay, while still keeping the value of like the paid coaching, right? Not making it irrelevant and making it so that I will starve because I make no money, right? And so my Patreon will be basically turned into just like a support thing. So you join my Patreon if you want to support my work. You don't do it because you want to have like a membership to a learning system, right? Like you're not paying for an academy essentially. You're just paying to support me. You get basically all the education for free. The only exception is one-on-one coaching, for the reasoning that I talked about. Should be main when it should be on off angle. Yeah, I kind of expected that to be where the question was headed. Not exactly. There's still some like unwritten stuff here that I'm reading between the lines based on my own experience watching and playing Genji, that we'll get into in a second. Find a duel and I can't help but think maybe it should be main. Yeah. Yep, exactly. But yeah, there will be plenty of opportunities for free coaching. Just in a lighter fashion than the paid one. But yeah, let me find a replay to talk about it, Nautilus. And I think I might be able to just use a very recent one. I don't think I need to dive too deep to find something.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is something that a lot of the chat is gonna be relating to.
Give us some props for me.
Especially, I guess that one really good way of like phrasing this or just asking people for I'm looking just for like a quick yes or no answer for this, right? Do you ever try to set up, let's say you go on a flank, right? Trying to reach backline, trying to do quote-unquote Genji things of diving backliners, right? Looking for assassinations. But it feels like your value is like hard to measure, like you're not doing much. I know I'm being kind of vague here. Like, let's say that in this match, I try to go on the Ana. So I flank, and ignore the tank, I avoid damage, I go on her, I trade my cooldowns for her cooldowns, and now I'm waiting and then she's alive. I'm alive, she's alive, and then what? What did I truly accomplish? Right? Or, oh hey, I'm trying to do the Junkrat, but I can't really push him. So it's like this game. I don't know if Game of Chicken applies here. So I'm not gonna necessarily use that name though. If someone that is more knowledgeable can tell me if that terminology would apply here, then but it's kind of a game where like neither party really wants to push, because pushing into the other means walking to the other's effective range. Like being the one that pushes is hard. Like if someone is holding good space, pushing into that good space kind of forces you to be the one that's walking through the bad space, essentially. This is one of the big reasons why defenders have the advantage. Because you hold good ground, your opponents have to walk through your good setup to be able to try and do anything. So you're gonna be at a default disadvantage. A big part of the attackers, what the attackers are trying to do is avoid the setups of the defenders and then trying to take a neutral fight. Or just even ground, right? So what I'm trying to say here is like, oh, I'm trying to fight the Junkrat, but the Junkrat is hiding inside a room. So rather than wasting my time trying to look for a fight that's really awkward, or the Junkrat just trying to look for a fight with me, but he can't really push, because if he pushes into me, he walks into deflect, right? This is why I thought that maybe Game of Chicken would be a terminology that applies here. It's just kind of like very weird. It's like, yes, you're contesting the Junkrat, but how much value are you really getting? Do you really want to get an even trade? or in the case of like you're trying to attack into the Junkrat, they have point possession, so their clock is ticking. Is it really worth it for you to take a trade that is at best neutral and just not really do anything for a long time unless the Junkrat like makes a mistake? It's really awkward, right? Same thing, Echo. I'm gonna play things out to give like actual examples here. So let's see a good example. I think it's after point unlocks here.
The objective is engaging thrusters.
I am ready.
I think this a little bit. It's not a perfect example, but you can kind of see how in this fight I'm just trying to like maybe get the Echo right. Like the Echo is trying to go in and do something, trades a little bit of cooldowns, and I try to get a kill on the Echo. The Echo is being careful, so I go in, don't quite get anything done. The Echo doesn't quite get anything done, and then after D.Va pressures me, I try to look for the Echo again, and then the Echo tries to get something done, and then I try to get something done. It's just like these awkward trades and whatnot. And so, to me, what I find really relevant here is just like knowing essentially when it's worth it to actually look for opportunities, essentially. And this is where what you just message here, Vietran, is interesting. Should you just play with the tank? Not necessarily with the tank, but kind of. Because I think that reading a little bit between the lines of what you're talking about, part of the idea of playing with the tank is more the guaranteed value, even if it's low, of like you are mostly safe, you can land some good spam on the enemy tank, right? You're contributing. It's not something like this where it's just like your value hinges so much on like a very quick moment where both parties are very ready to just like respond to it, and unless someone makes a mistake, it's usually gonna be kind of a neutral, right? Trade. So let me fast forward here, because I do remember a moment in this game, and I don't want to just like have spent too much time looking for it. But here, something that I was thinking about is, yes, I can try to look for fights on the squishes, but it's awkward. Really hard to fight Junkrat. Junkrat is just gonna be hiding in small rooms. Echo is just gonna be abusing verticality. Just gonna be really hard to reach, and as we saw, right? She's only ever gonna be within my range when she has flight to run away, right? Tough to do all the supports, and they're usually gonna be ready to support each other, right? And I have to take so much time getting to them. So look at what I'm gonna do this fight. I could be going under, setting up on this backline, or going over, setting up on this backline. What am I doing? I'm using my long range tool on Genji and sitting back. I'm shooting the tank instead of trying to do anything on any of the squishes, long range or not. What kind of blasphemous Genji gameplay is this? D.Va is flying in? I'm only paying attention to her.
Get them off the objective!
But does anyone see? I'm gonna play out this fight again, and I'm gonna pause it at a specific moment, okay? I would just want people to analyze this fight, spend some time thinking about it, try and answer something for me, okay? I'm gonna play this at 1x speed.
Get them off the objective!
So what was the value? Why did I play the way that I did? And what did I accomplish with it? I see some ideas in the chat. I would like them to be developed a little bit more. For example, D.Va is low and has to go back. Why is the D.Va low? Why did I choose to go for the D.Va instead of setting up on someone else? My pressure? Yeah. And what's an important distinction between the pressure that I was applying here on D.Va versus the engagements that we were seeing that I was failing on against the Echo earlier? And it's about the whole thing that we were discussing about all of those, like, you spend some time setting up and then you just get these like weird neutral trades after so much work that it doesn't really feel like you're doing anything. Well, spoiler alert, you kind of aren't really doing anything. Also, I'm live, right? I'm still live, question mark? Why is my Twitch offline suddenly? Hello? I can still read my Twitch chat, but my Twitch stream is offline? What? That's weird. Yeah. Twitch stream doesn't matter much anyway, so I'm not gonna worry about troubleshooting that right now. So okay, what I'm trying to get at, and this POV here is gonna help a ton. Okay. So we're discussing how hard it is to actually get to the opponent's backline, right? Or fight any of these characters. Not just because of the hero matchups, right? Even if I had a positive matchup into someone, right? Let's say that we're playing something like a soldier, right? But sure, I theoretically have the advantage against soldier as Genji. Just generally, not talking about like specifically close range. Genji just generally does good versus soldier, right? But until I manage to close the gap, the soldier is gonna be very annoying. And closing the gap initially is gonna be very difficult. Similarly, you're gonna notice from this D.Va how hard it is for her to actually do anything too. Because we're making it hard for her. It's not just, oh, it's hard for me to get into their backline. It's hard for them to get into my backline. Both teams are doing the same thing. The way that the teams are playing, the space that they're controlling, right? This whole, this general idea of how the game is played with like the tank going in front, where because they are the ones that can take up the punishment, right? They can tank the enemy's aggression, survive, right? Use their bulk to create space for the team, create vulnerabilities, right? While the others kind of follow off any opportunities kind of created by that. This kind of general approach is why a good general rule of thumb that I could give is for us to be more patient. Utilize our poking tool more initially, especially on a target like a tank, that's easier for us to hit because Genji doesn't have the best poking tool in terms of damage, but in terms of reliability to hit. So shooting a bigger target is better, right? Shooting a target that is less likely to use cover, right? That needs to spearhead the attack essentially, right? So they need to get out there, they need to put themselves in harm's way to create that space for the team, right? That's why we shoot them, right? We shoot the tank, because it's more reliable for us to shoot. So both teams are kind of just like waiting for the tanks to do something, for someone to screw up, right? My Orisa was trying to walk and do something, the enemy team found some angles, shot the Orisa very well. Orisa has to walk backwards. Similarly, we found some good angles on the D.Va, so we shot the D.Va, she has to give up some space. We're in this tug of war, just looking for opportunities around the map to do stuff, okay?
The objective is now.
And now, in this case, this tug of war is kind of going better for us because we have managed to find better angles on the enemy tank. The objective pressure is drawing the tanks to peek and contest the objective. This is one of the main reasons why Overwatch as a game has objectives. Because if there were no objectives, do you think that this D.Va would be using Booster to try to engage and try to do something right now against the full HP Orisa while she is half HP? Yes or no? What would this D.Va be doing right now if there was no objective in this game? If this game was purely about kills? Just whichever team kills more. Never? Yeah. This D.Va knows that it is disadvantageous. She's only doing this because she's forced to because of the objective. If she does not stay on the objective, which forces her to take damage from us, they give up point possession, and now we start winning the game. Now, first she would be behind cover where nobody on her team could see, and then she would get fully healed. From there, she would do whatever she wants, try to find an angle on the Orisa or the Kiriko or whoever, doesn't really matter, right? She could choose the worst target, and because the main part about here is not so much about the target, it's more so about like the status of the trade, right? Right now, this D.Va is at half HP, so she has a serious lack of resources to take any trade, really. And the D.Va can take trades against basically anyone. She's a tank. She can stand up to the Orisa. She has the resources to do so. It's not like I don't know, a D.Va on a no high ground map versus a full energy Zarya with full bubbles, right? No, this is a trade where, yes, Orisa is a good brawl tank, but D.Va is also a good brawl tank. They can duke it out if both have resources. So now the objective is forcing a move, right? So that's one of the big things. Teams will look to do things because they want to eliminate the enemy team. And they look to eliminate the enemy team because of the objective. I'm establishing this so that we can simplify things later, okay? So we have this sort of pressure, this outside pressure of the objective, either directly or indirectly, that forces people to make moves. And the person that's the most suited to make a move is the tank. Almost always. And if the tank doesn't spearhead a good attack, it's gonna be hard for the other people to actually do anything unless they just like massively outskill people in one of their duels, right? I just go fight as Echo and then just outskill her and beat her in the duel. Or she makes a mistake and allows herself to get too close and then I kill her, right? So we can assume that under normal circumstances, a lot of the fights are gonna be neutral. Gonna be very hard for me to find an angle on their backline and vice versa, because the teams are gonna make it so. Right? This is especially true on a mirrored map like King of the Hill. If it was a different mode like Escort, like Hybrids, where one team has better positioning by default because they're playing defense, then things are a bit different, because then the defender team has an easier time looking for kills because they have better angles. They have more powerful positions. But even then, the attackers are going to put their backline in a position that makes it hard for them to get screwed over, get ran over. And the tank is going to be doing the same kind of job of like trying to take space and gradually earn their team better positions to create an even fight eventually. But the whole thing that I'm talking about is just about the difficulties of doing something early on, even if we would like to, because we prefer to be fighting the squishes on Genji than the tank. But for the time being, it's not really feasible, it's not really a good idea. Because if I go do something here, I am not doing something here. And right now, this fight is the fight that it has to be taken for our team to really be able to earn an opportunity here. Does this logic make sense? Skipping to this step of going into the backline is valuable in some situations, but only if you can do so while quote-unquote skipping this step. And most of the time you're kind of gonna have to work through the tank or work through whatever defenses the enemy team has, be it positioning that's preventing you from really engaging the backline, or resources that are preventing you from engaging the backline, right? They have immortality field, they have Suzu, they have nade or whatever, you can't really dive before then, right? So you're just gonna be trying to take an approach that tries to create an opportunity, poke a hole in the enemy's composition ever so slowly. And this is something that Genji is surprisingly good at. It's very easy to think about Genji as a character that doesn't really have very good poke damage. But that's the thing. Thinking about Genji in a purely statistical way, I guess statistical is gonna not exactly what I'm trying to refer to. Just thinking about Genji purely from the stats point of view, right? About his damage, right? 27 damage shurikens versus Ashe hitting for I think 85, right? With a hit scan weapon that has much better range, right? And better fire rate and whatever, right? Yes, just comparing the weapons in that front is gonna mean that Genji doesn't look all that good on paper. But let's go back. Let's look at how much damage I took while poking the diva. I land 3 shurikens, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've landed around 300 damage, let's say. I've taken 0, 300, 400 damage, let's say. 0 damage taken back. 400, 500 damage. We can even roughly use our ult charge as a reference. Roughly 10% ult charge equals 200 damage. Tanks are gonna feed a little bit less ult charge. You get some ult charge, I think 1% every 4 seconds. So if you wanted, you could really get like the precise amount of damage, but we can just say that we roughly dealt like 400, 500 damage and took less than 50 here. So the point here is not so much that Genji's poke damage is low, therefore it's bad. That's not a bad way of looking at it necessarily. Like that is a way of looking at the game that can teach you a lot. And it's good to be able to try and break things down objectively, right? Look at things, compare them, and try to see what is good and what isn't. But in this case, we do also need to add in the potential context, right? Of how are you gonna utilize that damage, right? Let's say that we created a new character, right? Just click tab, I'm on a replay code. It doesn't function. let's say that I created a new character, right? And that new character has a 60 cooldown, or 60-second cooldown that deals 250 seconds, auto aims, is hit scan, right? So basically it's just a one shot on a minute cooldown. They don't care about the rest, right? That character just has a one shot on a cooldown that will always hit. That is obviously busted. However, here's the important part, and this is just I'm exaggerating to make my point. If we aim at a squishy, this is busted. If we aim this at a tank, this weapon is garbage. Because 250 damage, yes, if you time it well, it could be burst damage, whatever. I'm not really looking at that, right? But if you look at the distribution of the damage or across the whole minute, like the amount of DPS that you're doing, right? Or in this case, DPM, right? Damage per minute. It's awful. Awful. So you see the point? It's the same comparison as the Genji weapon versus the Ashe weapon. These are weapons meant for different uses. Genji's weapon deals this amount of damage because of his verticality, his mobility, his cooldowns, etc. Imagine if Genji suddenly gained Ashe's weapon. So then he can take this position and not be pushed out because he has deflex, and he can be repositioned instantly into this angle if he wants with dash. Imagine how obnoxious that would be to play into. There's a reason why Genji doesn't have very good range, because he has an incredibly easy time reaching basically any position on the map. There are trade-offs. So the way that you use Genji's weapon, especially his poke tool, is you don't take much damage. You don't deal too much yourself compared to other characters, but you have an easier time reaching annoying positions for the enemy team to deal with, and positions that allow you to stay safe while dishing out good pressure. So the reason I go here is because it avoids the Ana and the Kiriko LOS, right? It avoids all of the close range rooms with the junk. And since I expect the Echo to be around here, she's not really gonna have an easy time hitting me either. And if she's trying to look for me and stuff, I can just drop here and then she can't really look at me anymore. And I can poke the D.Va. The D.Va tries to rotate, I rotate. But if you look at my POV, let's go back. Pay attention to how I isolate targets. I am not in the middle of the open here where everyone can see me. I am currently, because of my cover usage, removing a lot of the angles that the enemy team can really look at me from to kind of just around here, because there's no way that they would have any angle around here by now. They would have to kill my team to reach these angles. So I'm using the cover to basically make sure that they can only really see me from here. And the only person that can see me from here, really, is the D.Va. And the D.Va can do anything to me at this range. Which is why I'm taking this trade. So basically I'm just landing free damage.
Get them off the objective.
And because of all of this free damage, my team is free to pocket other people, do other things on their own, and now our tank is healthier than their tank. And now their tank is gonna have to walk backwards. And now I can look for something. Because now that the D.Va is low, their supports are busy healing her. She'll probably have to drop back to point to contest. Oh, tab works in here? Ah, that's interesting. I didn't know that. But yes, I could have just looked at the damage that way. So now the D.Va is low. Either she's not gonna do anything for a while, because if she did, she would just lose the trade and die. Or she would just take the negative trade, which is just good for us. But because the div is kind of out of commission, me making a play on one of the squishes means that she's less likely to be able to help. The supports are less likely to be able to help. Or if they do, they're making a trade-off on who they're helping. Didn't work before? No. This is rather recent, I'm pretty sure. Now, didn't work. The Junkrat was watching, and I'm not gonna take that gamble. But you can see that even though nobody died, nobody really quote-unquote did anything, just kind of people tried walking places, and whenever things looked like they would go bad, they just walk backwards. That's all that really needs to happen. We are making things look worse for the enemy team that they are making things look for us. So we're slowly winning points. And now I look to do something. Because now the enemy team is much more pressured to make a play. The point is basically ours. We're gonna be winning space. Their div is heavily pressured. If the DPS don't take an angle soon to be able to pressure us heavily or get a pick, we will win the objective. It's just a matter of time. So they have to do something. Which means they're gonna take bigger risks. So I go over, I see the vulnerability, and I look for the play. I unfortunately don't execute well enough. But most importantly, now this neutral trade is to our advantage, because it maintains a positive status quo, a status quo where we are winning the point.
I am repaired.
Sure, I didn't get the kill on the Echo, but Echo did not get to pressure anyone on our team. So my Orisa just stood tall on points, and we captured. And now I can look for plays in the backline, and now I chill for a bit. But does this make sense? I know I talked a lot. I just wanted to really just like explain through the whole thought process so that people kind of understand not just what you do in each moment, but why you do it in each moment, right? What is the reasoning behind being more conservative with your resources, with the type of plays that you make, right? Shooting tank, playing in more passive positions initially, later on looking for backline, you know? Even if our character is quote-unquote a squishy assassin, right? Not someone that really wants to farm tanks like a Reaper or someone else, you know? There is also another aspect to this, which is that while the squishies, assuming that you could go on them early, which will oftentimes be the case, not too often, but often enough, right? The thing about those fights is that they're more of a gamble. Shooting the tank is safe, but provides less of a potential benefit, whereas going on the squishes has a higher risk to reward ratio. You have more to lose, but more to gain. Right? So in that sense, you could even kind of like mold your approach based on the amount of risk that is worth taking in any situation. If your team is winning already, right? In this case of we were, right? Our tank is healthier on point than their tank, so we're just waiting for the point to unlock. There is no reason for me to take a gamble 1v1 with the enemy squishy, because we're already winning. So in that situation, the enemy team stands to win more from that trade than we do, because if we win, or if I win the 1v1, great, we're already fated to win the point anyway, or we're already going to win anyway, because we did a better job, not fated. If I lose, suddenly the enemy team has a way back into that fight. Similarly, if you are the enemy team and you're already losing points, and if the fight draws out, you're going to lose points, then you have to do something. So taking a gamble 1v1 is probably one of your best bets. So the amount of risk that you take can heavily, and how what kind of risk is good heavily depends on the situation. There is no such thing as like a vague or just like a rule like a DPS trading for a support is a good trade. Sometimes yes, but sometimes no. Even if supports are quote unquote more valuable than DPS. Okay. Another reason why I have been spending a lot of time talking through this is because I don't yet know the best way to condense these ideas. I do want to put them in a video, but I need to understand them enough and know what kind of information is fluff and what is like the very crucial stuff and how best to convey the ideas to be able to make like an 8 to 10 minute video on it, right? I don't want to make a 30-minute video explaining this if I can just do it in 10, right? So part of it is just me trying to better understand how I can talk about these concepts.
I'm on fire! Let the Kitsune guide you! They're on the objective!
But yeah. Orisa ults. Lots of cooldowns are traded. The enemy backline, if not for this Kitsune, should be very vulnerable. And even with the Kitsune, should be very vulnerable. Because we fought so much, and more importantly, we have so many angles on them, and they are so stacked, then the enemy team should be really screwed. Imagine being one of these players and having a Genji threat from over here, while the Lucio is over here trying to angle you, looking for boops and whatnot, while the Orisa can go here and the Tracer can just like wrap around at any point. Right. This is not the best case example because you don't have that many angles on the enemy team. But the enemy team is in bad shape. They have no space control and no real resources. So the enemy team is in bad shape. By all means, we should be able to push and most likely win. And we will try to, right?
My ultimate is almost ready!
But you will see that despite their vulnerability, right? Despite potentially being able to just kill the junk here or flank here and go on the backline, I back out. Because I did not play well enough, my team did not play well enough to actually finish up the job. We got really close. We had just almost good enough setups where our Orisa ult would kill or my flank engage would kill, the pulse bomb would kill, but nobody executed well enough or timed together things to the point where we could overwhelm them. They always survived. But here's the thing. I backed up and we're not losing. Isn't that kind of crazy? We're not losing. They nano the diva onto our backline and we're not losing. But that's where you have to stop and think. Why are we not losing? Because they're so weak. Self-wide reviewing? Not exactly. So, yes, they're very vulnerable and we should have been able to get a kill. But at the same time, because our setups were so much better, giving up some space now that we tried and didn't get anything, rather than being stubborn and trying to get it anyways and overstaying your welcome and potentially dying, backing up still means that we're fine. We still have point possession, they still don't really have all that many angles. We traded resources with them still, so us failing the kills is not tragic or anything like that. At worst, it's like neutral for us. So even with the Nano Diva on our backline, we're winning. This Diva is being forced back. And we're gonna have time to go again. And the point is still taken for us. I know a lot of Genji players that would have just gone all in for the kill there. And I would have done that a lot too, before. But I'm trying to really nail down these ideas. I've been focusing a lot lately and I've been finding a lot of success just farming tank, doing the boring work. It's very easy to overly focus on the setups, on the close range, right? On all of the very important aspects of Genji, and from that end up tunnel visioning so much that you forget the most basic things. And not just the most basic things, but also things that, while overrated usually, or things that if done in excess end up causing you to lose games, those are also not things that you necessarily completely move away from. You should not spend 100% of the game setting up to go on the backline as Genji, because you still have to deal damage on this character, and you have to do a decent amount of damage. Genji is a character that deals, honestly, a fair amount of damage, right? 7, 8k, some Genjis are gonna fluctuate higher. I'm gonna use like their 8k damage average, right? Around 8k damage per 10 minutes. A Cassidy will usually be like 10. You would not think that Genji would have such a close amount of damage to the Cassidy. Or an Ashe. An Ashe would also be around the 10k damage mark. Weird, isn't it? I am not knowledgeable enough on what Sombra stats should really look like, but I think that the Sombra should also be relatively similar in damage to the Genji. Around the 7k damage mark, maybe. I don't know if Sombra would really hit the 8ks or maybe even the 9ks. But yes, for all that I praise the setups and everything, I also overpraise it and overly focus on the setups, and end up just spending games where I don't have like 60 or not 60, like 70 or 80% of the amount of damage of my auto DPS. I have 50% of it or less. I will have like 5k damage, they will have 10k, rather than me being at like 7k or 8k damage. And that really hurts, because that means that my team is most likely really struggling on the frontline trade, because the enemy tank is not taking enough damage. This game is a little bit of an outlier in terms of damage output. Like you can see right now I have 10k damage, basically the same as like a Junkrat or a Cassidy, right? But for example, if I had in the case of like my Tracer, like 7k damage right now, basically the same amount of damage as my supports, that would be troublesome, right? So yeah, shooting tank at the wrong moment is bad, but so is anything else done at the wrong moment. You should spend more time shooting tank as Genji. Now I can look for a squishy, because the squishes are actually within range, right? It's in the moment of the fight that it makes sense for me to go in the squishies. We're past the point of like farming the tank. But how are we going to retake this? Well, let's see. Find the diva, spam the diva, spam, spam, spam. Spam the diva. Okay, diva is away. Only now I'm looking for someone else. If I ignore the diva, then my entire team, because most of my team ignored the diva would be destroying our team. I am not doing a flashy job, but I'm holding everything together. because my team is trying to take this space and even getting kills, while I distract the D.Va, I absorb the pressure, and I deal enough damage that the D.Va can't look for kills on my team. Yeah, I do. It's a really good video. And similarly, I shoot this Junkrat, get him to half, rather than going in for a potential kill here. I already did my job, the Junkrat is out, he has no angle. I don't need to take a gamble, let him potentially kill me, to potentially kill him. I stand to gain much less than he does. Because I already won everything that I wanted, which is this. We now control this area. So now one less angle for my Orisa to worry about. Now I can go here, control this area, and boom, my Orisa will only get shot from main. That's all I needed. Similar thing with the tank. I was only shooting tank for us to get the space to go for squishies. Because once I'm in position where I can choose between a tank and a squishy, I will choose the squishy. It's just a matter of getting to the point where I can make the choice. Yeah, let's go back a bit. D.Va is on the left, my Tracer is distracting backlane, so I can follow up, I'm within range. So I can just afford to do this. But before I couldn't. Also, meditation believers lose this game. Well, not really, but... Yo, just enough to survive the D.Va.
I am on fire.
I'm going to play a game. And just try to apply this. And yeah, it's pretty much that, Nautilus. I'm trying to get a really good, like, not exactly like catchphrase, but like a really good way of summarizing it. But I'm currently not coming up with a good way of summarizing, unfortunately. But yeah. By the way, this is also why a character, while a character like Venture, a character like Vendetta, while they can very much and potentially should still apply these same ideas, they very much can skip steps and just go backline immediately, because their kill threat, right, their consistency and their reach, right, so their mobility is so much better, right, so their consistency to get to the end point. And then the lethality once they're there, or the consistency of that lethality, are to such a degree that they will get really good value, even if they did not spend any time creating a vulnerability beforehand. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily wrong for the Venture players and the Vendetta players or whatever, just immediately go for backline and just kill. Because they kind of have the kits to do so. Genji requires too much aim and is too noisy, too slow to move around. Funny to hear that, but it's true. To reliably just like ignore tank and go in backline. If you do that, unless you're like very precise, you're gonna notice that you're gonna struggle.
Commence attack on objective.
Or your performance is gonna wildly fluctuate between doing a lot and doing very little, based on your opponent's ability to poke you out beforehand, or see your engages coming. So basically a lot of the poke damage there is also used to just like remove that inconsistency. And in turn, well, I guess it's just a different way of phrasing it, right? Add more consistency to your value.
Got one here.
So yeah, Genji has less mobility, less sustain, less consistency on the damage, and potentially even less burst than the other two characters. So of course he's gonna struggle much more and you're gonna feel much less consistent than actually getting kills on the backline. There's a reason why using the same amount of ability, or even less, right? Because I have a ton of knowledge on Genji and how to set up, but I don't really have that much knowledge on how to play Venture, for example. But despite that, if I was to play Venture here, right? Very quick example. I closed the gap on that soldier fully without him even noticing. If I was Venture, I kill him through the pockets. On Genji, I only kill him through the pocket if I hit triple headshot into another triple headshot, which will basically never happen. So there's a reason why whenever I swap to those characters,
Skills improve.
I feel like they are so much easier, they're so much stronger. Not necessarily because they are, although they partially are. There's enough of a win rate difference between the characters to suggest that they are stronger characters. But it's also because I'm misusing Genji to an extent, and that's making the difference, you know? Like here, for example, all that setting up for backline to not be able to really do anything.
Let the Kitsune guide you.
Don't really want to ult here.
I feel a warm inside.
I am healed.
They resurrected one.
Burn like the corn. Yujin no Ken wo kure!
Not gonna give them a touch. I really wanted to save my ult because
Enemy spotted.
Clash. But very important for us to not give a pick here because Clash.
Objective captured.
Learning to get there without dash is good, but you need to know when to do it. You do so later in the fight, when that like value gamble is fine.
Objective unlocks 10 seconds.
The enemy outnumbers us. Take your shot.
Objective
I don't know why they still have Clash as a game mode. They removed it from competitive, so why would they subject quick play players to this?
Soldier 76 reporting for duty.
objective unlocks.
But yeah, even when I'm not farming tank, I'm just trying to poke from a
Let the
range
Kitsune
or
guide
from an
you.
angle that makes me take less damage than ideal.
Helden sterben nicht. There they are. Get ready.
Nah, I've seen enough complaints about Clash that I think quick play players don't generally like it. I don't really see too much why quick play players would have a bigger tolerance toward these modes than competitive ones, you know? If anything, I don't know if I would say it's the opposite. Let me think. It's kind of hard to think while I'm trying to play the game too. Think about something completely unrelated, uncomplicated.
Let's give the prize here.
I guess one of the points would be that, yeah, well, yes, competitive players will play the game more, so if there's something that is annoying, they'll get exposed to it more and their patience will be worn thin.
Advance to objective C.
But at the same time, if something is annoying for a competitive player, it should also be annoying for a casual, right? And you can look at it just by thinking about the ranks. In that, for example, someone like Bastion is really annoying for lower ranked players, right? But he's also really annoying for casuals. And in a way, the lower rank players are casuals, right? And outside of like considering the current state of the game we're in, where devs have powercraft Bastion to the point of being good in high ranks, it's a situation where the low ranks are going to be annoyed by something the high ranks aren't, right? So I don't see why the quick play players should have necessarily less of a tolerance or more of a tolerance towards Clash than competitive players. And maybe, but it doesn't make the game mode any less bad, you know? I don't know. I don't know if there's any point in thinking about this.
The objective.
Protects life.
Defeat.
Well, that game was boring. I did not get to focus on what I wanted, which was just like playing and doing that whole tank shooting into go backline later whole approach. Let's see. This is one I played just tank. This is one I played DPS and I went negative this game, which is a shame. I wasn't really focused on that game. I was alternating focus a lot to know like when I should save out and when I shouldn't and etc. So I did both things very bad. The reason why it might look good to you is because I have played this game to the point where me not focusing is better than 99% of players. Like, I'm a champion Genji. Arguably, I'm a champion every role. I'm working towards getting all my roles there. I'm still frustrated that I dropped some rank on tank. I was like 2 matches away from champion tank. And I'm pretty sure I can easily get it on support too. And so like, even if I were to just like lose a lot of my focus, I would still be, let's say, a GM player or heck, a master player. And those are still a higher rank than most of the community, right? So this match, I played badly. Even if it looks good, right? Yeah, when I did the Blaze, I was really focusing on the game. I was really focused on, okay, can I save the ult because it's Clash, or do I need to use the ult to guarantee we don't lose a point? Or on the timing of like the cooldowns and etc. Um, I don't really want to play another quick play game though. The quality is just not good enough. But I don't know if I have another recent game on Genji. I guess maybe this one. I can quickly skim through this, I guess. It'll be interesting.
Ready for battle.
But yeah.
Let us proceed with.
Ready for battle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Initial flashpoint.
Why don't I stream my game more often? I don't know. Honestly. I mean, part of it is focus. But I'm pretty sure that I can just do games on one account on the stream and then have an account that is dedicated to playing games off stream, and then boom, problem solved. And I think that would be interesting. Hello. Yeah.
Flashpoint unlocks in 10 seconds.
Breaking them down.
Flashpoint unlocked.
But yeah, see what I mean? Like,
Breaking them down.
I have a good setup, but because I don't land enough damage on the Sojourn, right? I slightly misaim a shot or two, and then I don't time my deflect well enough. Now I'm losing the trade. I'll live, yes, but why take this gamble right now? Because like, while yes, I set up well, because the enemy team is still playing like this, right? Because they still don't really have much space, their backline is kind of hugged together. I'm gonna be fighting 2 players, 3 players, right? The Sojourn was instantly healed by BAP, and then Lucio was coming in soon after. And while yes, this is a distraction that my team can theoretically exploit, this is so small in this moment because they don't have enough of a jump on the Sojourn, right? Enough an opportunity to really make this distraction too worthwhile. So essentially, why not just shoot the Hog and deal more damage than I take? And later on do this when the BAP is focused on shooting the Hog. Then the distraction that I force from the Lucio and the Sojourn matter more. Because either now the BAP has to choose who to keep alive, but also I'm gonna have a better chance of killing the Sojourn, because the BAP is initially not gonna be healing her, which forces more resources onto her, and for longer, etc. Right? So it's the same thing. It's like I'm trying so hard here to go for do something. Meanwhile, if I just do this, just so much value for so little effort, you know? And yes, I can minimize the chat when gaming, but I still think that it's good to have the difference. And I do think that it is, to a certain extent, valuable to be able to read chat while playing. While I can minimize interaction, I think that no interaction at all while streaming is a little weird. Loses a lot of the value of like streaming the games. Like at that point, I might as well just like play the games on my own and just post every single game as a video, you know? Or just give everyone the codes afterwards. That is kind of why I have been a little bit hesitant in just doing streams like that, even though I have done some experiments with them and saw that my performance was fine. And I can focus in because I just turn off the monitor, so I don't see the chat. So I can just lock in on the game.
I am here.
They are taking hold of the objective. We must stop them.
Yeah. I've been kind of taking a break, partly because I was trying to figure out some stuff IRL, some team play stuff, because this is my first season actually looking into Facets. I was also playing some Cracktorio. that's the meme in the community for Factorio, because the game is just like incredibly addicting. So just like the wording that I gave you, not less about like oxygen not included. I think I gave you that. Yeah, I did give you that warning about like the game just like sucking up a lot of your time and just kind of feeling like a second job. Factorio is kind of like that. So I've been designing a lot of stuff, but it's just like I've been designing a challenge and I've been at it for over a week and I've spent so many hours on it and I still have so many more hours to go and then have to play the challenge. I'm just on the planning phase, right? So yeah, that's where a lot of my time has gone the last month or two. I've spent probably more time playing Factorio than Overwatch. And that should tell you something about how much time I spent actually making videos, which is a shame. But hey, surely I'll do something about it. I hope to. I hope so. I really need to. I really do need to get my stuff together. Because I really do need to get the channel going and get the channel going well, decently soon. I don't have infinite time here. So I'm hoping that this year I can grow my channel a lot. I don't think I will become independent in 1 year, but I certainly would like to make a good move towards it. Because I have not made enough a move on that topic last year. There are practical reasons to have multiple channels. Yes, there are. I need to get back to it on the gameplay channel. The coaching channel is still moving, been a little bit slower because of some of the end of the year stuff and lower activity on the workshops, and also me now doing a slight rework on how the workshops are gonna work, but the videos are gonna come back there too. But it's funny, right? Going back into this game, I spent all this time, all this effort trying to do something to the squishes, which is what Genji quote unquote does, and then I got screwed over, and I've been a hindrance to my team. I have dealt 300 damage. Their Sojourn has 1,200 damage. She beat me while also doing more frontline damage than me, because she quickly wins because she has more numbers than me, and then after that she goes and shoots my team. Now I did a little bit better, but even then, you know. And then I just massively stagger trying to run away. Let's see what I do this fight. I'm pretty sure I just shoot hog this fight. Yeah. Wow, guys, the forbidden strat, the you shoot tank strat. And I have doubled my damage output. I took basically 0 damage. Now another hog died instead of living. And actually now I get the kill on the Sojourn. Okay. But basically where I'm trying to get at with a lot of what I've been talking about, and a lot of what I'm trying to summarize, is that essentially what I'm trying to nail down with Genji right now is just essentially cutting down on the lows and maintaining the highs, essentially. You know? So like, avoid taking those bad engages that I took with the Sojourn, for example, there, while not giving up the opportunity to kill her like I did here, right? I want to be able to make this, but not make that play, you know? And I think that there is a secret to it. It has to do a little bit of like the timing in the fight, but also with the kind of opportunities that you follow up on, and the kind of opportunities that you open yourself up to. And this kind of goes against what I've been talking about for a while on Genji. Not exactly, just to the extent that I have, right? I've been preaching about setting up too much, essentially, right? It's not that setups are bad, it's just that you shouldn't set up all the time, necessarily. So, staying on either a more conservative angle where you should tank, or closer to the team, or whatever, right? This doesn't stop you from going for the squishes. It might cost you a dash to rotate from one angle to the other and whatnot, but if it's better timed, it's fine. If you're doing so after pressuring the tank a bunch, now the tank needs heals, so now there's less resource to go on the DPS and vice versa, then it's fine for you to suddenly change angles, go on the DPS of dash, right? In fact, Genji has a really good and easy cycle to pressure, to quickly go out of his position and essentially just like punch someone for a decent amount of damage, which is dash deflect. Dash, melee, deflect out. And this is also ties with something that I've been paying more attention to with Genji lately, which is that you can increase your value a decent amount by just giving up on the thought of kills a lot of the time. So rather than trying to kill this Tracer, if I land a single dash melee on her, I already completely screw up her play. Any more chase than just a simple dash melee on this Tracer is better for her than it is for me, because I'm very unlikely to get a kill on the Tracer. She has the resources to survive. So the only thing that matters here is getting enough damage done so that she cannot distract or kill my backline. Because if after that I chase and don't kill, that's time I could have been spending shooting the hog or setting up on someone else that I can actually kill.
Next, flashpoint.
So this is kind of like the same approach that Ball kind of takes, where you kind of just want to... You really have to be in tune with where you want to be and when. Because you can be anywhere and do whatever. And just because Ball is good... But just because Ball is good at backline, right, going in backline, doesn't mean that you should all the time. Ball can very well farm tank, if from a good angle. Ball can disrupt both backline and tank. Genji does not have the same flexibility that Ball has in terms of what he can do, because Ball has CC and Genji doesn't. But it's very similar in the way that you kind of just like, you have a lot of ideas that you can bounce between. It's just about developing the mastery to know exactly which idea to use when. When do you just shoot the enemy tank from main or from a slight off angle? When do you go on these small engages to force out the flanker versus set up on backline and hit backline hard? When do you go on the backline hard, or when do you go on the backline less hard, right? You do a soft engage, etc., right? Because the less commits that I do trying to chase Tracers that I'm not gonna kill, the more time that I'm gonna be spending pressuring this hog. And the more time that I'm spending pressuring this hog means the more opportunities I'm gonna have to kill the backline. Because my team will also be pressuring hog or the backline. And because I'm adding pressure there, I'm either making a kill more likely or I'm giving our team more space. And that space is gonna be turned into more opportunities, right? Etc. It all cascades. So you can see here, right? I was really only looking to just shoot the Tracer enough to discourage her, and then I would turn. But the moment that I saw what was happening with all of the movement and how far I was to actually be able to do something main, I decided to just go back to the Tracer and go for a potential combo. But you can see how far away that takes me from the fight. I failed to kill her, she is still relevant to the fight, and I was basically doing nothing for a long time. And you can see how convenient these kills are, right? Like, it's so much easier than what I was when I was sweating to get close to the Sojourn. And by the way, on the first fight, I got 100% close to the Sojourn from an off angle while she was distracted, and that play still was bad. That's one thing that you can do. I would say that doing Kovacs has not just improved my aim, but drastically improved my confidence in duels. So yeah, I would highly suggest. But I would recommend you looking more into what is the problem with your duels. Because something I realized about my duels is that a lot of it is not about my mechanical skill. Because, well, I don't have the mechanics of a pro. I have played plenty of matches against pro players and have beaten them. Heck, I have a video posted of me making an Overwatch League player go negative while I absolutely deadlift the lobby and just one-shot a Lucio mid-beats, right? So I have a lot of potential, right? I have really high highs. But why was I feeling inconsistent about a lot of my performances? Well, it was something else. It was the setups. It was the timing or whatever, right? Like here, it doesn't matter that I didn't hit all my shots. I hit enough because she wasn't being healed, she was distracted, right? There's a went infinite rather than the other one, which wasn't really a duel.
Amplification matrix ready. Let them out.
Joker's off my point.
Untouchable.
Flashpoint unlocks in 10 seconds. Flashpoint unlocked.
Now.
Surviving and thriving. My spirit come to victory fever.
Hi there.
Let them up. Fide mal suyo.
They're attacking the point.
It's kickoff.
Show you.
I am healed.
Tactical visor activated.
Yeah, like this fight is a really good example. I should not give free access to those Lucio and the Tracer to my backline, but I shouldn't try too hard to kill them because it's very unlikely that I do so. Not only is it basically a 2v1, but it's also against characters that are very good at dueling me if they play their cards right. And they're together. And so in this case, why am I wasting my time on this Lucio? He's already out of position. Just go shoot someone else. If this Lucio gets closer, sure, maybe fight him. But here, now they already walked here and spooked them. That's all I needed to do, right? So turn on the Zarya. They shoot the tank. Because the tank is easier to shoot, right? Everyone is making themselves so hard to shoot. So now, this Lucio already gave me value. Because he is incredibly afraid of me. Incredibly. If this Lucio was here, I would have to duel him to prove that I deserve this space, essentially. And the value would be from actually winning the duel, whether it be a kill or just forcing him out. Because the Lucio is too afraid to take the duel, he just wants to guarantee that he lives, he already gave me value. So now, my goal is to not give him value by continually paying attention to him after he made clear that I'm not killing him, and turn someone else, and I do. And this also allows me to spot this opportunity. And I was not sweating to go on this map, this opportunity just happened to arrive, and I was close enough that I could follow up. That's kind of the benefit of just being closer to main, I guess, in this case. or just on a centralized position, I guess. Not so much on an off angle where you're more committed to a certain person, right? Not to say that off angles are bad, but rather to just like understand the nuances of each decision that you make. You know? And look at how effortless it was to just like do something to the Lucio. Again, the Lucio just happened to be here. I didn't have to walk out of my way for this. I just lived long enough in the fight for it to get messy. And now that the fight's messy, I'll just find opportunities like these. You know? So I shouldn't neglect angles. I'm not standing in the open like an idiot, right? I'm walking toward, I'm shooting the Zarya from here rather than from here, right? I'm using piece of cover whenever I can, right? I'm trying to navigate the map smart, so I take as little damage as possible, and then when I want to reload, when I want to chill because I'm low HP, whatever, I just hide, right? But because I lived long enough, and my angle and my cover, right, are all fine enough, right? I have enough cover, I have enough of an off angle compared to my team. Opportunities just arrive, so I just kill things, you know? Yeah. My biggest failure as an educator for a while has been how much I tunnel on specific concepts, but especially on the whole idea of like pathing and closing the gap, and how much I emphasize it while not putting as much focus on other aspects, or even none at all on other aspects that are also important, just because the Genji community needs it so much. Like, yes, the Genji community tends to already do the tank shooting job very well. In fact, they do it too well where it turns bad, where they never set up ever, right? They just spend the entire game shooting from main and waiting for opportunities to dash, where you need to shoot tank, yes, but know when to position yourself on a slight off angle or even just a full on flank to find those backline opportunities, right? But it's not to the point where you perma avoid tank.
Flashpoint.
And honestly, the more that I think back, the more that I generally make this mistake of like tunnel visioning on something specific. Turbo focus on one aspect of my gameplay, see it improve my gameplay because I fix it, right? Or I do a lot better in it, so it brings me rank. So now this is the truth, nothing else matters, right? Do this all the time, all the time. And then after a while, once the topic isn't as interesting to me, it isn't novel anymore, then I start to lose a little bit of focus in it. My performance drops because of it, because I'm not having as much fun with it. And then my rank maybe drops a little bit, and then I'm just like, wait, what? What's happening? But I know I'm right? And then I think hubris is the word I'm looking for here. They would just kind of have develop a bit of a hubris, or maybe not hubris, but ego here. And then not notice that the same thing that can bring you up can also bring you down if you mismanage it, right? Like, eating healthy food is only healthy if you don't overdose in it. You know? Like, for example, if you drink enough water, it becomes poisonous. I don't remember exactly why. I am not talking about drinking water that is like completely pure water, like water that doesn't have like any minerals in it or anything like that. That's a different thing. But I'm pretty sure the same would be applied to anything, not just water. Like if you eat too much of anything, it's bad, even if it's theoretically something that you need or is healthy. So yeah.
My duty
The
calls.
objective. Get over here. Hi.
But yeah, to an extent you could also tie this to our talk about the King's Row example too, about like knowing when to make plays. Like sometimes there are moments in the fight, like for example this, on this rotation. I would love to be able to kill these targets. These targets are so juicy, right? They are 225 HP, right? 3 of them. They are targets that I should be able to have an advantage up close, but this is not the moment in the fight. So I should not be pathing to get close to them now. I should wait. There will be an opportunity for me to go on them, most likely. Just not now. I need to chill. Know when to make a play and when not to. Right now, my job is just to shoot this tank from the side. Now I look for a play to follow up on the result. Otherwise, I would potentially wait some more, Sigma take some space. Maybe someone tries to take his position, and then I slap them in the face because I'm here ready to capitalize, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, this this was embarrassing. Let's replay it in all its glory. Miss 1, miss 2. Get lazy on the deflect tracking. That should give me basically a free shot. And then he just kills me in that time. The only thing that we need to do here is not get traded. So what do? I got traded. It is unfortunate that my BAP was reloading, because I did path towards my support so that they could heal me and then prevent this guy from killing me, even if my aim sucked. But my aim sucked so bad that even though my team was dealing damage and trying their best to heal me,
Do your worst.
this soldier lived long enough that I died. Oh, that's great. And I show moments like this to show that, yeah, even a champion player will do that. And a champion player will do that even on a good game. And not just, oh, the entire game has been bad. No, no. Everyone has moments like these. Isn't there like a very famous clip of like PGE just like under tracking a target with an entire tracer clip and then just like making an incredibly shocked face or something? I'm pretty sure I remember that. I believe it's like on the middle of Esperanza, right? And then he just like completely under tracks the target. So he just shoots the entire clip into a wall. It happens to everyone. Don't worry about it. And I'm back to hitting my shots. Crazy, right? I'm not defined by one moment. So part of the reason for me with like Kovacs helping so much of confidence is that it not only helps grow you the aim fundamentals, right? Because aim is not just mechanics. Aim is a lot about just like you knowing how to use your muscles to move not consciously, right? Unconsciously to do the tasks that you need, but also all the techniques that you want to use in each situation, knowing how to apply them fast and etc. So part of it is just that, like knowing that you have practiced the activity enough for aiming that you have what it takes to win the duel, but also knowing that your performance fluctuates. I don't know how much, but you're not gonna always be hitting a high score, and that's okay. If you play out the scenarios, right, over and over again, your performance will fluctuate. I don't know if it's 10% or what, but it will fluctuate. And that's normal. That's completely normal. Some duels will look cleaner than others. There will be some outliers that are terrible or incredibly good, But for the most part, it will stay within a certain margin, right? Where, let's say that you perform either like at your high score or up to 10% below it, something like that. That's where a lot of the times the scores just end up at, if you're currently at your peak, right? If you're not, if you're just rapidly improving, then of course your scores will just look like they're always going up. But if you are currently at your high score and you haven't really moved from there in a while, your scores are gonna have that small fluctuation. Now, what went wrong there in the soldier is that I was just careless. I was this is just like, we just cleaned this fight up so easily from the 2 ults that we did that I'm already relaxing. So I'm not focusing how I should be. So that's why
Your worst.
you can see that my aim is lazy. You can see that it lags behind.
Do your worst.
Like you can see how slow I am to move my crosshair. He moves so much and only then I respond. It's like, oh yeah, I have to aim, right? So because this, in my mind, this is like cleanup and like the soldier should be low and there should be no way that I die here because I have all resources and whatnot, right? And my team should also have like 3 people shooting at him also. Right? I became careless and so I died. And it's not even like this is gonna happen on all of these cleanup fights. A lot of these cleanup fights you will still land the shots because you have built up your fundamentals through practice. Or your teammates will just pocket you better or deal more damage and the soldier just insta-die. This is just a rare occasion where the soldier played it very well, or he killed me very fast and dodged all my shots, and my teammates ended up not only not being able to pocket me in time, but also not land enough damage in time on the soldier all at once. So basically this is like a very unlucky outlier essentially. Like I don't know what percentage would be, like let's say just 0.1%. It doesn't happen often. So basically what I'm trying to say is you shouldn't focus on moments like these and just think that you suck. I just laughed off these moments. Because I know that failing here does not define me, right? This doesn't make me suddenly a fraud.
I'm on fire. What's up?
Just a silly death. It happens. I didn't suddenly lose confidence in my play because of this. So I still went for the duel on the soldier, and then I properly read his rotation, and then have the pressure him and aimed well, and then notice that we can still win this fight, and then played it here. So having this peace of mind is incredibly important. Because if I let that moment get to my head, we might lose this game. Because then we're in a 4v5, pretty much. It's not an easy skill to develop. Not at all. And I don't know how much advice I can give on some of these ideas. But yeah. Ended up streaming for a little bit longer than I expected, and also answered way less questions than I thought. I ended up kind of going like a big conversation about an interesting topic that I would like to turn into a video somehow. I need to figure out how. I don't know if I would say that the pro players account for the low rolls. Because in a way, if they did, there wouldn't be so many silly deaths. But there are. Just part of human nature, right? We're humans, we make mistakes. And if anything, I would argue that a lot of what it takes to get to the top is a lot of ego. So if you don't have, and I don't mean ego necessarily in a bad way. Ego can be bad, but ego is also important for you to have enough confidence in yourself, right? There are aspects of ego that are good and aspects of it that are bad. But to be one of the best in the world, you do need a certain level of ego, right? To the point where sometimes you're gonna be very confident in your abilities and just get slapped in the face. Yeah? Like, are you gonna tell me that someone like LeBron James never lost a game? Or never lost a 1v1 with a different player or something like that? Those moments don't define you. But also, those moments do matter. You can be better, right? You can avoid more of those moments. But if you're too afraid of those moments, and that's the catch, right? If you're too afraid of your potential failures, you're much more likely to fail. Because you're going to be so in your head about potentially failing that you're never going to be able to play well enough to succeed. So that's why it is ironic that a lot of the better players are also some of the players that end up making the most silly mistakes. You know? Because you kind of have to have that overwhelming confidence in yourself, in your abilities, to be able to just succeed at that level. Because if you don't, you're going to be too afraid to make the plays in the first place. You need to be able to put yourself in a position to get hurt in order to actually do well enough to have the pop-off moments, to have the success, right? It is a very emotional game, essentially. Like competing in any sport doesn't have to necessarily be at the highest level necessarily, but like the higher the level, the more that emotions come together from competitors, right? Competitors with higher and higher egos and more potential to gain and lose in each match, of like the stakes going higher and higher, right? So this is why we see the things that we do. The emotional outbursts, both positively and negatively, the types of personalities that we see, etc., etc. Yeah. I don't think my Twitch stream went back up. Yeah, no, it didn't. It's weird. I don't know what happened. Because the YouTube stream didn't end randomly. Yeah. Yeah, I really do have to go now. I am hungry. I spoke too much with while drinking too little water, so that's gonna be fun. But yeah, have a good one, everyone. I'll see you all in the next time. Bye bye.